Okay, sorry I'm a bit late getting started. I ran into some slight tech issues, where OBS was just really slow to start. And I know I said we were probably going to wait till after Golden Sun to continue this, but I'm pretty tired. IRL, mostly just because I'm still kind of recovering from the stomach bug that I had. Funnily enough, started as we were finishing. I think it started showing up as we were finishing the last stream, basically, where it was like almost 6 a.m. and I'd been streaming for 7 hours and was miserable as a result. And was miserable, feeling miserable due to heat buildup as a result. So I'm not entirely sure if this is gonna work the way that I want it to. Oh dear. I know if I go into select adventure, I can just go here, but I want to see if I hit continue and start from here. Let's see if this... Okay, it does not. It does just go through the last cutscene again, it looks like. Alright. In that case, let's just go back to title. Oh. Alright. So we do have to, unfortunately, we do have to specifically select adventure. Alright, let's do Great Ace Attorney 2. I'm going in blind. The reason I even found out about this is because I was curious about a second one. Because, like, it's been a couple of years since this released.
Standing here in the bright sunshine, looking out over the vast ocean.
Aww,
those days in London
passed.
seem like a dream. But I do miss my time in England's vast capital.
Can she even return, though?
You know, he's flourished into a truly wonderful lawyer.
Oh no, that's
I've
probably
no doubt
Kazuma's
that at this
grave,
very
actually.
moment, he's fighting some noble cause in court. Forgive me for taking so long to come to visit you. My life has been such a whirlwind since I returned. And no one could have predicted what has happened. Just 2 months after arriving home.
I find myself faced with another awful crime.
So I came here today to ask something of you. Tomorrow, I shall be standing in court. For the only time in my life. As a lawyer. So please, I ask for your guidance. Kazuma-sama.
That was the person that murdered John. That was the lady. I forgot what her name was, but I remember she's the lady that murdered Iris's father, basically, in the very first trial of the first game. 13th August, 8:26 a.m. Supreme Court Adjudicature, Defendant's Antechamber 3. Here I am again after 9 months. The Supreme Court of Judicature of Japan. can she even go back to England, considering the end of the last game where she knowingly tampered with the scene of a crime? I guess maybe she didn't know for sure that there was a murder on the other side of the door when she cut the peephole in it using the cat flap-o-matic thingy. But she knew that Sholmes had been shot and the place had been broken into. I feel so nervous, but I must steel my nerves and find a way to compose myself. Because Ryunosuke, he has nothing to worry about. He was completely unaware of it at the time. He was completely unaware of her tampering, as was, established in the first game. He might receive some kind of penalty for the McGilded, or some kind of, admonishments for getting gilded acquitted, but technically he just did his job if you look at it that way, or if you look at it, with a somewhat modern perspective, or if you look at the way that at the very least Van Zeeks, I almost called him Edgeworth, but if you look at it how Van Zeeks kind of looked at it, where he was like, why are you presenting evidence contrary to what that is, contrary to defending your client. Oh, Dad did survive. That was Kazuma's grave. Actually, yeah, she said at the end of the scene. Good, you're here. It doesn't do for a lawyer to be late. Oh, yes, good morning, sir. I hardly recognize you. You got a fine figure, counsel. Oh, is he the one accused of murdering? No, she said she was being accused of murder, right? But you look as white as a sheet, and those wide eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Oh dear. The truth is, I'm so incredibly nervous, I feel utterly nauseated. I almost wish I'd never been born. Goodness, not the sort of thing a father hopes to hear from his daughter, I must say. Eugene Mikotoba, professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University, a man who early in his life traveled to Great Britain to study the latest advances in forensic medical science. And of course, my brilliant father. Excuse me. Excuse me. Would I be correct in thinking that you're to be my lawyer in court today? Oh, our client is someone who we've never met. Oh, yes, that's right, miss. Well, I want to thank you for agreeing to represent me. I swear on my life. It's a complete fabrication. The whole thing. Do I have, attorney band? Oh, I can't access the court record yet. It's not one of my options. Raymond Mimbami, born the same year as I and my greatest friend. Though unusual for a woman in her time, she works at the university research laboratory helping my father. I mean, that unusual, yes, but I mean that's progressive, if anything. Advertisement from retail giant. Whoa, we're offering $120 off the latest printer whose name and brand I won't say because I'm not being sponsored. And sadly, she's the defendant in today's trial. I'm gonna give her a Maya Fey voice. Accused of committing a really awful murder. Are you feeling all... Are you feeling all right? Since we started talking, you seem, to become a little flustered. Oh my, it's just that... You look so gallant and dashing. Sorry? When I fall under your intense gaze, well, it makes me feel rather bashful. Goodness, I don't think she knows. She hasn't realized who I am. It seems my little plan for this trial is going to work. Oh, what do you mean, Professor Mikotoba? I combined like 3 words into an actual English word, into just Mr. If even your best friend can't see through the disguise, I think we can relax. Disguise? Yes, I've never tried dressing this way before, of course, so I wasn't sure how convincing it would be. Oh, are we in a suit and tie? That's very funny. But this does make me feel a little relieved, as you say, Father. Father! What? Is that you, Susato? I'm so sorry I didn't say something sooner, right? It's just like, no! What are you doing? What's going on? What? That varsity uniform, that varsity cap, that varsity cape, that varsity badge. Look at you! You look for all the world like a student of the Imperial Humane University, a male student. I'm so glad you think so. It means all my preparations have been worthwhile. I woke at 4 this morning to make a start. But I don't understand. Why are you dressed like that? Is it like illegal for women to be lawyers or something? Well, you see, it was the only way. The only way she would be permitted into the Supreme Court to take on her defense in this trial. My defense? Never before in my life have I felt so frustrated at having been born into this body. Courts in Japan are barred to women. We're not even allowed to set foot inside the courtroom, despite the fact that the laws of the land apply to all people, male and female alike. That sounds about right. But women are forbidden. Just for today, I'll be leaving my true self at the courtroom door, so that I can act as your lawyer. Oh, Susato, you go to such lengths for me? Of course, you're my best friend. I just worry that I shan't be the lawyer you deserve. Oh no, I have complete faith in you. I have complete faith in you. Ray. It's so strange, though. I mean, you're such an accomplished judicial assistant already, and yet just because you're a woman. What a wretched reason. I mean, why shouldn't you be allowed in court? You're so gallant and dashing. Hey, can we stop talking about this while there's a bailiff right there and presumably another one ever so slightly off screen? Like, just past this door, right, this other door right here. Who's actually, you know, closer and more likely to overhear our conversation. Ray, please don't look at me like that with those flushed cheeks and doting eyes. Oh, I'm sorry, it's just, you really do look so dashing. Yes, you mentioned that once or twice. You should be pleased. It means you look convincing as a man. I am pleased, I think. It certainly helped bolster my confidence today. Ray, you're managing to put on a brave face in all this, but I can see through it. I noticed how your shoulders are slumped and how you're trembling ever so slightly. Susato, You do believe me, don't you? I didn't do it. I couldn't have. I mean, murder. Of course. You have nothing to worry about. Your conscience is perfectly clean.
Oh yeah. You know, I forgot that because that girl was an exchange student, she had like diplomatic immunity basically in Japan, and that she had to be tried in like a different country after Ryonosuke proved her to be the murderer of
John H. Wilson? I remember it was John Wilson was the victim's name. Yeah, I guess we'll learn this lady's name again too. Isn't that right? Yes, it is. Perfectly clean. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind about your innocence, which is why I'll stand by you until the bitter end in this trial. Whatever happens, I'll always be on your side. Because that's what it means to be a defense lawyer. That means so much to Mrs. Otto. That means so much to Mrs. Otto. Defendant, counsel. Court is about to begin. Please proceed to the courtroom at once. You should go in at once, Ray. If you're late, the judge won't hesitate to pronounce you guilty. Oh! Stand aside! I don't think I've ever seen her run so fast. Well, Susato, you've certainly surprised your father. Princess seeks to be admitted to the court. Had no prior experience of being a lawyer. She has learned a lot from Ryonosuke. There's simply no other way. That's all there is to it. But father, you haven't told her, have you? I mean, I'm right in assuming that Ray doesn't know how it came to this? Yes, quite right. I kept that information from her. So we know stuff that Ray doesn't know? The only word, she found out that no other lawyer would agree to take her case. It's this again. Look. She studied with a guy who beat the Reaper of the Bailey 3 times. She's canonical, and canonically bailed him out every single time. Susato's got this. This is the... I didn't want to burden her with that. And is it true? The reason why every other lawyer is refusing to take the case is really because of who the victim was? Well, yeah. English student who murdered their professor. We should be making a move now to. As you know, law is not my field, but I'll do what I can to support my student. Thank you, Father. I'm Susato Mikotoba, a judicial assistant. 8 months ago, I accompanied a student of law on a study trip to Great Britain. But 2 months ago, due to unforeseen circumstances, I found myself back in Japan. Her father got sick, so she had to leave, even though her ship got delayed until, like, the day after. Or, well, it was, like, the same night. Her ship got delayed by, like, 12 hours, or, well, by, like, a long time, just due to the weather. How many times have I wished that he were here, I wonder? Still, I have no choice but to steel myself for the trial ahead. Wish me luck, Naruhodo-san. If he were here, he would absolutely demolish this case. 13th August, 9 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicate. courtroom 1. Oh, we're back to having multiple courtrooms. Alright, Prosecutor Ouchie again, huh? This court is now in session to hear the trial of Ray Mimbami. The prosecution is ready to proceed, Your Excellency. Defense counsel, are you ready? Yes, Your Excellency, we are ready. Ready? Ah, yes, counsel. According to your registration details, your name is, Ryotaro Naruhodo. Is that correct? Sorry? Oh yes, I had to come up with a suitable male name for you for this little adventure. So I'm afraid to say that I simply put down the first name that sprung to mind. Well, counsel? Yes, that's right. That's me. Yes, I am Ryotaro, he who has vowed to uphold the pride of the great Naruhodo clan. Ah. Since Ryotaro may need to consider how better to uphold his manly act first and not overdo it. All those wild, wide eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Just relax and listen. Just relax and listen. Naruhodo? A fresh face in this court, if I'm not mistaken. But the name Naruhodo, will that perchance be? You may be thinking of Ryunosuke Naruhodo, currently in Britain as one mistake. This is, his cousin! That's right. Ryotaro here has been studying in the provinces, but was called to the capital for this trial. I assure you, in matters of law, his knowledge rivals that of any of Tokyo's preeminent lawyers. Any of them! What a pitiful situation. Having been rejected by every lawyer in the capital, the accused has had to call him a country boy. How dare you! Susato is in every bit as gallant and dashing as any of your Tokyo attorneys. I won't have you making fun of her. Her? Oh, her. Please be careful, Ray. What an unrefined tomboy we have here. But I wonder, is your gallant and dashing lawyer up to the challenge of defending you? You bet. His wide skittish eyes very much suggest that he is not. I'm so nervous. When I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand what Naruto-san goes through. Like it or not, eyes are want to flit. The case has to be heard on this day is a matter of great significance to our national interests. In fact, it would be reasonable to assume that the outcome of this trial may very well affect the very future of our empire. Just like the trial 9 months ago, and yet for proceedings of such importance we have this unknown yokel by the dock? Dear me. Perhaps this would be an appropriate moment for me to assess the defense. To determine whether you're sufficiently competent to practice in this courtroom. 9 months ago, a certain other Naruhodo stood where you're standing now. I'm changing his voice. This same judge tested him as well. And even though he was just a student at the time, not even a law, he passed the test with flying colors. For a trained and experienced judicial assistant like you, this will be easy. So, counsel, you can sit to answer some simple questions. That's you, Ryutaro. I almost said I almost said Ryunosuke. Ryutaro. Alright, it's time to prove myself. Yes, Your Excellency, but please do make them simple. Very well, to start with. You will state the name of the victim. That is simple. I can forget that if I try. It's in the court record, right? In the autopsy or the autopsy report or something. Ah! What's the matter? No one standing in the shoes of someone understands the gas star or something goes through. Like it or not, minds want to blank. It's not surprising, really. It's your first time in this position, and doing that, guys. Even a bright spot like you is bound to flicker and falter a little under the circumstances. Oh dear, this is all dismal failure. Don't fret, you need only use the knowledge you've gained as a judicial assistant to overcome the problem. Of course, the court record! Yes, the answer will be amongst the Yes, the answer will be amongst all the key information about the case in the court record. That's right, just use E to open the court record. Can I do it now? Then you need to flip to the people section with E. And don't take too long over it. It says he is watching you closely. Alright, check the court record with E. That's where the information will be. Giselle Brett. Okay, the victim, who is a former British exchange student 9 months ago, she was found guilty of murdering visiting Dr. John Wilson. Post-mortem report. Just after 2 p.m., trauma to the victim's lung from a knife blade. Only a single stab wound was identified? Ascertained by examination and witness statements. 11th August, around 2 p.m. Single deep stab wound from behind pierced the lung, resulting in fatal hemorrhage. Death would have occurred within minutes. Extreme meiosis. Pupil constriction. Sort of both victims' eyes. I'm waiting, counsel. What is the name of the victim in this case? Giselle Brett.
Yes!
Why are you also raising your hand? The name of the victim who lost her life in this case is Miss Giselle Brett. Giselle Brett. A name that will never be forgotten in the courtrooms of our country, I'm sure. Correct. And being a member of our empire's judiciary, you will be well aware of the significance of that name. Yeah. You were, well, actually, no, she wasn't in the room when that happened. I was like, yeah, you were there, Susato. But no, she wasn't, actually. So, let me pose another simple question. As you know, Miss Brett was a visiting student from the Great Empire of Great Britain. Why, then, is her name indelibly associated with our own empire's judicial history? Hey, player, have you played the first game? Obviously, you won't have forgotten that case from 9 months ago. But even if it's proving hard to recall the 5 points, everything you need is included in the court record. Yeah, it's just under... Obviously, I still remember. That was the start of everything. Giselle Brett. Behind the woman's student persona was the face of... a killer.
Yes!
9 months ago, a visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University was killed, and the culprit was Giselle Brett. I don't know why it's doing this music as if that's some big revelation. It's even just listed in her profile. She was found guilty of murdering Dr. John Wilson 9 months ago. Yes, she was a killer. At the time, our country had just signed a new treaty with the Great Empire of Great Britain. I keep wanting to say Great British Empire. And it was in the midst of this delicate diplomatic situation that the incident occurred. An Englishman, Dr. John H. Wilson, was shot dead. I believe he was an associate here as professor. I believe he was an associate here as Professor Mikutaba? I didn't realize that was still her. Yes, I was indebted to the man. He'd been my mentor when I went to London to study forensic medicine. Indeed, it was I who invited him to in Japan as a visiting professor at the university. Naturally, the murder of an Englishman on our soil was a matter the government wished to resolve rapidly. Indeed it was, which is why a secret trial was conducted here at the Supreme Court. The student of the Imperial University was arrested on the suspicion of murder. A second-year English language student by the name of Ryonosuke Naruhodo. With the help of his best friend, a student lawyer, the accused conducted his own defense and exposed the despicable crime committed by Miss Giselle Brett. Miss Brett eventually admitted to her crime. However, when questioned about the motive that drove her to take Dr. Wilson's life, she gave no satisfactory answer before the trial reached its conclusion. Immediately after the trial, the British government brought its consular jurisdiction into play. We were unable to sentence Miss Brett according to our empire's laws. It was decided that she would be removed to Shanghai, China instead. Why Shanghai? There's a British consular court there. Correct. I oversaw the negotiations personally. The date of her transfer to Shanghai was finally set upon only last week. And all that remained of our empire's obligations to see the woman safely on board a steamship. And yet, the very day before her departure, the Englishwoman was killed. On the day before? The day before? You guys couldn't have waited one day? I guess she was like some kind of international spy or something like that, probably, right? That will do. I'm satisfied that the counsel for the defense is sufficiently capable of representing the defendant. Oh! Thank you, Your Excellency. Over the first hurdle. Now, a summary of the incident, if you please. Prosecutor Auchi? As you wish, Your Excellency. The repugnant crime took place on the 11th of August in broad daylight. On the outskirts of the imperial capital, under a bright blue sky, at a secluded bathing spot by the sea. The incident occurred inside a small beach hut erected for bathers to rest or change their clothes. The cause of death was a single stab wound to the posterior abdomen that pierced the victim's lung. An injury which proved fatal. There were two persons alone together in the beach hut at the time of the victim's death. Miss Brett in her bathing attire, and the accused, Raymond Bammy. Yep, saw that one coming mile and a half. I saw that one coming as soon as we started, as soon as I clicked the new game option. Accordingly, there can be no doubt of the accused's guilt, especially when we consider she had a powerful motive. The police arrived rapidly at the scene and promptly arrested the young lady. You haven't covered her motive yet. Well, that extraordinary description of events leaves me somewhat lost for words, I must say. That's certainly true. The prosecution's summary is full of words that raise an awful lot of questions. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about... the motive, right? You're clearly exaggerating. Powerful motive is a blatant overstatement. Is the yoga boy using long words he doesn't fully understand? Schwartz's lab assistant with him. He also happens to be my father. I beg your pardon? No matter, let us put this to the accused, shall we? Membami-san, you are a research assistant at Imperial Yume University, I believe. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm working with Professor Mikotoba in his laboratory at the moment. I can confirm that the defendant is an excellent assistant with a strong sense of responsibility. Fascinating to hear. Now, another question. Prior to your work with Professor Mikotoba, whose research were you assisting then? Oh, it was John Wilson's, right? I was studying under John H. Wilson. I keep wanting to say it's T. Maybe it's... I don't remember what Watson's... Obviously, Wilson and Sholmes are supposed to be Watson and Holmes. But I don't remember what the middle initial for, wait. Yeah, Watson. I don't remember what his middle initial was. Dr. Wilson? The visiting English professor who was murdered by Miss Brett 9 months ago? That still doesn't prove motive. The accused had deep respect for her former mentor, Dr. Wilson. Is that not true? Yes, Dr. Wilson was a wonderful man. Interesting. Then tell the court what deep-seated feelings you had toward the Englishwoman who killed him. Well, obviously I was filled with hatred for what she'd done. A powerful hatred. Oh no, Ray, be careful what you're saying. The motive was revenge, plain and simple, Your Excellency. Well, it was clearly a trap all along. How wicked of him to use Ray's undying respect for her former mentor against her like that. Let's find out more details, something we can use to bolster out our defense. As a lawyer, I really want to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about the bathing spot. I guess we have to do all of this. If I may, Prosecutor Alchi. What do you want, you fresh-faced young yokel student? I wonder, could you explain, please? You mentioned a bathing spot. My apologies. Clearly my modernity has confused the poor country bumpkin simple mind. Look, buddy, we want a name for the bathing spot, dude. Not just the bathing spot. It's like, he killed this person in the park. Or she killed this person in the park. Which park? You know, the park. Bathing spots are the very latest trend in health practices from the West. We are told that bathing in the water of the ocean is curative, therapeutic, and instant for the skins. No, that's not what I meant. I was referring to the fact that Miss Brett had, to all intents and purposes, been found guilty of murder. Why would a known criminal have been relaxing by the sea? For old time's sake, I believe. Sorry? Miss Brett was to depart for Shanghai the following day. Her final wish, as it were, was to enjoy a day at our country's wonderful coast. And the British Embassy put extreme pressure on our government to comply. But on what grounds would we agree to such a request? Because, as usual, our government is unable to stand up to foreign powers. In matters of diplomacy, it seems you don't even have the courage to climb the whims of a known criminal. Don't believe me, Professor. It was the government who granted permission, not I. In any case, it was decided that with a dedicated detective on duty, nothing could go wrong. But in fact, a murder took place. I said don't look at me, it was that young student girl who did it, not I! No one has proven that yet. I wouldn't provoke the man if you don't need to. At this stage, I need to gather more information, I think. as a lawyer, I really ought to pick up about what he said about them being alone together. Okay. I guess we had to go through all of them. Mbaumi-san. Yes, what is it? So, Naruto-san? I'm really starting to question maybe my alias is Ryutaro Susato. Please tell the court why exactly you were present at the in the spot with the victim in the first place? And why were you alone? You were alone with her. Oh, well, no, that's not true. It wasn't like that at all. There were other people present. A detective who was guarding Miss Brett, for starters. Excuse me, I burped. This is all very stressful, you see. It was just that I was just asked to accompany Miss Brett as a companion, that's all. But let us be clear. At the moment of her death, you were alone together with the victim in the hut. You and no one else. The truth is, there's only one reason why this young woman accompanied Miss Brett on her bathing sojourn. It was the accused's last chance to take the victim's life. No? No! Because, as we know, the following day would see Miss Brett extradited to the British authorities in Shanghai. And the accused would never have an opportunity to dispatch her again. Kindly refrain from conjecture, counsel. I believe we all have a clear picture of the incident now. Despite her guilt being determined 9 months ago, Miss Brett managed to avoid incarceration instead of continuing her research work at the university. Obviously, over that period, she and Ray would have encountered each other on a number of occasions. Seeing the murder of the mentor, or for whom she had such great respect, enjoying such undeserved liberty. Yes, even if it was only temporary until Miss Brett's extradition to Shanghai. You can hardly blame Ray for her feelings of anger and resentment. Poor Ray. So, Your Excellency, if you be so kind as to peruse this exhibit, a photographic print that shows the scene of the crime immediately following the crime incident.
Where's the knife? Yes, thank you, Counsel. A tragic image. Also, there's no knife. She's clasping like a pen in her hand. Why didn't the goose / swan do anything about her attacker? There's obviously a sign of a struggle, a significant sign of a struggle.
As you can clearly see, there's nowhere in the hut that anyone else could have hidden.
Aside from, you know, in this dress right here. The court will accept this photographic print as evidence. Stab wound in the victim's back is clearly visible. As I understand it, the victim and the defendant were alone inside the beach hut at the time. This is deeply troubling, I must say. The finger of guilt points firmly at the defendant.
Well, Your Excellency, naturally, the prosecution has much more to its case. We intend to prove the accused's appalling actions beyond all possible contention. To that end, I can confirm that we have multiple witnesses to the crime and damning evidence.
And there we go. Someone is... The actual killer is gonna testify, right?
Witnesses? But who?
The detective and someone else?
One of whom, I might ask, is a highly respected police detective.
It's the same fucking detective from before that gave us the wrong goddamn steak platter, isn't it?
I assure you, the testimony of these witnesses will leave no room for doubt. Well then, Council, bring forth your witnesses. I, Takatsuchi Aochi, have been waiting for this moment. Sorry? Oh yes, I haven't forgotten that trial 9 months ago here in this very courthouse, when that irreverent little student boy utterly humiliated me. Yes? This is an insult to the Aochi family name. Will never be... Oh, this insult to the Aochi family name will never be forgotten. You've become conceited with age, Council. But the old have to stand aside and make way for the new. It's the way of the world. May you never forget that. Strike the head of a samurai whose top knot has been cut and the bell of cultural enlightenment tolls. Yes, on that fateful day, my former self died. The start of your own mini Meiji revolution. Are you modernizing as well, Council? Silence! Since I swore revenge back then, there's been a minor miracle atop my head. Observe the Aochi growth. You see, this seed of hope sprouting forth from the barren expanse of my crown. I think that tiny growth is trying to tell me something. What, that he should just shave it all off and go bald? I'm afraid I can't really see. Where's the hope exactly? I said silence! Today I face another yokel student of the Naruhodo clan. Well, I will vanquish you, and my victory will be the fertilizer for the seed of hope atop my head. You have been warned. With that, the prosecution calls the witnesses to the stand. And so the stakes are high on both sides in this trial. The prosecution and defense each has much to lose. A haircut is hardly comparable to Ray's life. Hey, it's Takeshi. I think his name was Takeshi. Is this supposed to state your names and occupations? Definitely Soseki. Occupations, for the record. Chief Inspector Satoru Hosanaga, Imperial Police Bureau. In disguise, obviously, so I can go undetected. Yeah, these two again. And I'm, well, the next big thing in books, and also for now, around throughout the capital, in fact, yes. Soon to be sold out, the satirical I Am a Cat, the sensational success by Sasaki Natsume. Who is this guy? Oh my goodness! Struggling student from provinces, please. You needn't be in awe of me. I needn't? It's only natural that you'd feel nervous in my presence, but all of you, please relax. Call me Saseki, even. Yeah, Susato, he doesn't realize that it's you, and neither does, Hosanaga, so don't break character. Yes. What on earth is Saseki-san doing here? Tread carefully, Susato. That author fellow knows you from your time in London, doesn't he? If he exposes you for who you really are, this will be over before it's begun. Yes, of course, I know. I presume Saseki-san won't have forgotten about me. I could certainly never forget him. Although he does seem to have changed somewhat in this 6 months or so that it's been since I last saw him. As for Inspector Hosanaga, that amazing outfit is hard to believe. To have something on my face. Well, your glasses for one, although they don't seem to be helping you see. Thank goodness he hasn't recognized me either. Ah, I suppose it's this disguise, is it? I thought that appearing here in the clothes I was wearing at the time would make for a more faithful testimony. It is my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly. While I can appreciate why an Imperial Police Bureau detective might have been present, but that certainly wasn't the case 9 months ago. But what business did a writer such as yourself have being at the scene, Seki-san? Well, you see, I had been asked that day to give a lecture on the morning of the incident in the Imperial University's Grand Lecture Hall, no less. You mean university? After the lecture, I had a very pleasant conversation with a researcher from the medical science department. I almost said medicinal. The professor over there, in fact. With Professor Mikotoba? Yes, that's right. It was arranged by one of the newspapers. They wanted some story or other about 2 former students who'd studied in Great Britain. Of course, being a renowned author, the press never leave me alone. These are only spies, snapshots, scribble stories, and scupper my privacy. As you can see, the conversation was written up in this newspaper here. Read at your leisure, my provincial struggling student friend. I have plenty of copies. Thank you very much. You practically threw that paper at me. So Seki Natsume article has been entered into the court record. Alright, first thing we gotta do is examine this. Anyway, following up my interview with the professor... Alright, first off, oh, I actually can't flip this over at all. Why is... I guess this lens is correct. Which is kind of weird. Newspaper containing an article about a discussion between my father and Soseki-san. The debate became quite spirited. Anyway, following my interview with the professor, the lady in question appeared to make a very unexpected announcement. I should like to guide everyone to see your country's coast. Those were her words. As I explained before, Miss Brett was never taken into custody. She continued to work in my laboratory under strict surveillance, of course. At which utterance, the university immediately contacted the government to seek guidance. And the response was permit Miss Brett to go as long as a detective accompanies her. A detective I'm at liberty to divulge was me, Chief Inspector Satoru Ohasana. Thereby the entire party departed cordially for the seaside, it seems. It was extremely challenging to clear all other members of the public from the vicinity of the beach. Fortunately, I'm at peak physical fitness at the moment, so I was able to carry out my duty flawlessly, despite the fact that you're still coughing up blood. Why have you not gotten that looked into? Oh my, Inspector, you... Well, you do have something on your face now. Oh, how unsightly. I do apologize. Does that mean you went to the beach too, Father? No, fortunately I had work to finish off. But unfortunately, of course, it meant that my assistant Ray was invited to take my place. Of course, being a renowned author, I didn't like to decline the invitation. But if only I had, I'd never have seen that awful sight. Relentlessly raped by remorse and regret. He has... Hey, guy, you have ink on your palm? How do you have ink on your palm? You're using a pencil. Well, I guess it's not really the palm. It's like the back of his palm. Very well. I must now ask you to present your formal testimony to the court. You will give an account of all that you witnessed on your impromptu excursion to the coast. Of course, Your Excellency. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret I am. witnessed scene. On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise. I just managed to catch that crab when I suddenly heard a caterwaul from behind me. I ran into the beach at once where I found the pair in question. Yes, that young girl was astride the English woman, dagger in hand, and as she stabbed wildly. I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she'd stabbed the victim multiple times. Okay, double objection to both of you. She was stabbed one time. Single, deep stab wound. Indeed, it does appear it does appear from this testimony that both witnesses here present saw it. The very moment of this heinous crime. What? Now, if you will recall, I promised evidence as well. What phrase did I use again? Yes, that was it. Damning evidence. The pen that she's clearly holding? Why do I feel... Oh, did she fake her death? Or try to fake her death? What have you got there, Counsel? A so-called fountain pen, is it? Correct, Your Excellency. I found it at the scene whilst examining the body. It appears that in her dying moments, with her final ounce of strength, the victim clutched a piece of evidence that would positively identify her killer. What? Your Excellency, you should cast your eyes over to the photographic print of the crime scene once more. Oh, I thought that was supposed to be like the dagger. Ah, goodness me. Yes, the victim is clearly grasping something quite deliberately there in her hand. That's right, the fountain pen. And if you would kindly examine the pen, Your Excellency. Aha! The owner's initials have been engraved into the ebonite barrel. R.M. Ray Mimbani. What? Couldn't that have been... Couldn't it be literally any other RM in the world? The initials of the defendant. Ah, no! This fountain pen will be immediately admitted as critical evidence. Sir, have I omitted anything? Oh, I can't actually examine this? Decisive testimony and damning evidence. There's a bright blue sky outside the courthouse today, perfect weather to ascribe guilt, I feel. I don't understand. The prosecutor out here 9 months ago had none of this man's poise. Counsel for the defense, you may begin your cross-examination now. Naruhodo-san. Naruhodo. That means... Oh, that... Yes, right, me. Is there another Naruhodo in my courtroom? Actually, there isn't even a single Naruhodo in your courtroom. Ryutaru, pull yourself together, please. Alright, I've seen this countless times as a usual assistant. Finding inconsistencies in the witnesses' testimonies to prove that they're lying somehow. That's all there is to it. That's how a real lawyer would handle a cross-examination. So let's see what I can do. I don't think there's any penalty to pressing here. Very occasionally,
Ace Attorney in the past, Ace Attorney games will ascribe a penalty to pressing in the wrong spot. There's very specifically like 2 instances that I can think of. But I think each time, I think each time you're actually, like, warned that, hey, you can't press, that, hey, if you press something that's irrelevant, you're gonna get penalized.
Hold it!
Isn't that jaunty disguise? Correct. Wait, no. I mean, it wasn't the first time I've worn a swimsuit for a dip in the ocean. It's tried and tested. Do what must be done to keep the Englishwoman under surveillance. Those were my orders that day. And this tried and tested outfit was the answer? Being able to blend flawlessly into a crowd is an important part of a detective's job. I submerged myself in the salty water, leaving only Mr. Turtle floating inconspicuously on the surface. Aside from the red band around him, Mr. Turtle loves the water. But there was no need for you to blend into the background on this assignment, really, was there? That made you late arriving on the scene. I think perhaps you had your priorities wrong. Perhaps I shouldn't pursue this line of questioning any further at the moment. Just managed to catch that crab.
Hold it!
Ah, you're describing the victim's scream, presumably, Sasaki-san? In more literary terms, you might say it was a scream that could pierce the heavens. Kia! Or the like. Of course, that's just a metaphor. We renowned authors are wont to describing things so. Hold on. Was that a metaphor? Yeah, it was. It didn't use like her ass. Sasaki-san wasn't at all like this in England. Anyway, I spun around at the noise and the beach hut immediately fell under my gaze. Yes, the beach hut. The area is popular with government ministers. Many have seaside retreats there for resting and recuperation. Locals are prohibited from entering the area, so it's always very quiet. The beach hut is a simple structure erected as a place for people to change or take refuge from the sun. Although the Englishwoman commandeered the hut for herself, which meant that I was forced to change into my swimwear on the sand. Ah, I imagine that was rather embarrassing for you. Well, anyway, I tossed the crab aside and headed for the beach hut at a run. Or, in more literary terms, I decrabbed and beetled off hut-wise.
Hold it!
Wait, by pair, you don't mean to say... But how could that be? No, you misunderstand. Obviously, I mean the victim and the defendant, Mbami-san. Oh, it would have been helpful if you could have just said that from the outset. If you jump to conclusions, you have to expect to fall flat on your face sometimes. Dear me, pinning your hopes on such an outlandish side chance. Foolish, very foolish. It really was an outside chance. I just wish I'd realized that before I said something silly. So, Inspector, why don't you tell the court how sad that you found the aforementioned pair in the hut? Well, it wasn't us. It was a sorry sight. A really grisly scene. I parted the northern curtain hanging in the doorway, stepped inside, and subsequently to see the defendant leaning menacingly over the lifeless body of the victim sprawled. My glasses very nearly cracked at the ominous sight that met my eyes. Yeah, they're really appalling. He doesn't appear to be lying here. Also, Saki-san, can you confirm what Inspector Hosanagi is saying, I wonder? You'd like a literary man's opinion? Yes, that young girl was astride the Englishwoman dagger and she stabbed wildly.
Hold it!
Stabbed wildly? You actually saw her do it? Oh, indeed. The terrible spectre, the inspector, the bloody torment, the author's torment. Every second sound is still carved into my melancholy memory. That was my impression, at least, as a future literary sensation. Can't live it with its shrilly feminine scream. Oh, no, what are you insinuating? I'm as manly a Japanese man as you. I wonder if I might interject here, Soseki-san. Something you said is troubling me. That was my impression of your words just now, I believe. Ah, so do you mean to say you're not confident that you really did see what you described? No, I mean, yes. I know what I saw. My ears didn't deceive me when I heard that scream. It's my eyes didn't deceive me either. I can describe everything I saw vividly. I can publish it all in tomorrow's newspaper serial. It says it's the next installment of AM. I think there's supposed to be 2 L's there. I am a cat, me take a macabre turn. I think this is a fool's errand. The more we push off the friend of what he saw, the more entrenched he's going to become. Oh dear. How awkward. She stabbed the victim multiple times. Yeah, I'm just gonna present here.
Objection!
That accusatory cry that just swelled up from inside me, I think I finally understand. Every time Kazuma-sama and Naruto-san have stood here at this bench, the stakes have been very, very high indeed. What's the meaning of that menacing pose, Counsel? I'd like the witness to clarify something for me. Who, what, where, when, how? Not you, Soseki-san. The query is directed at Inspector Hosanaka. At me? In your statement just now, you said that the victim was stabbed multiple times. Yes, that's right. As I said, when I entered the hut, the defendant was already standing over the victim, bloody knife in hand, like a murderous demon. And yet, that cannot be. What? Get to the point, please, Counsel. In the post-mortem report, it clearly states that the victim was stabbed 1 time only. God, they have nerfed the shit out of this book. What? In other words, Inspector Hosanaga's testimony is clearly flawed. And Soseki-san, me? You claim to have seen Mimambi-san in the throes of stabbing the victim. Yes, I did. Wildly. But both you and the inspector confirmed the same point, that there was already blood on the knife that you saw the defendant holding. Yes, and? How can there be blood on the knife if she was only stabbed one? It's quite simple. You know that the murder weapon used to stab the victim only once. Therefore, there's no way that there could have been blood on the knife if that single stabbing hadn't already occurred. True! And what exactly is your contention, Counsel? Are you ever going to tell us? Yes, Your Excellency. There's only one logical conclusion. What Soseki-san saw, in fact, it was not the moment the defendant stabbed the victim at all. But the moment the defendant, in fact, withdrew the blade from the victim's body. That can't be. Excellent work, Susato. who exploded at them with that objection, and then proceeded to pull them apart systematically.
Objection!
Well, this takes me back. Yes, I seem to remember your cousin staged a scene like this, much like this in that trial 9 months ago. A half-witted child with a half-baked objection attempted to steal the show. You're right, there were certain similarities. Except that so-called half-witted child managed out with the prosecution, who was only half a head of hair. Slander! My hair was quite adequately dressed. In any case, all the talk of stabbing or drawing multiple wounds, it makes not a jot of difference. What? Why not? Engage your brain, young man. When the accused first plunged the deadly weapon into the victim, that was the fatal blow. And it was at that moment, just as she had withdrawn the blade ready for her next strike, that the witnesses saw. The knife was already tainted with blood because the accused had already stabbed the victim. Ah! But there would still be another stab wound, right? I'll use it as will show with your little display. Is that the mustached author is prone to moments of extravagance. Ugh! I am in agreement with the prosecution. If the defendant was seen wielding the blade at all, that is sufficient grounds for her actions to be viewed with suspicion. But if she was withdrawing the blade, then we're back where we started. Sorry? Consider this, young yokel boy. If the student girl is as innocent as you claim, why would she have pulled the blade from the victim? And with a demon's cold-blooded composure, too. The prosecution demands an explanation, and it had better be good. Oh, forensic medicine. She studies for she's helping in. She's a forensic medicine assistant, right? So she would be able to. So she was probably trying to patch up the victim. Why did Ray pull out the knife? Oh yes, going for the jugular. What does Father mean by that? Let the court hear your answer then, counsel. The truth is, I don't really know. I have to come up with a plausible reason here, or we don't have a case. The reason why the defendant pulled out the blade of the victim's knife was surely so she could save her life. According to the post-mortem report, the victim's death was not instant. Yeah, death would have occurred within minutes. That's correct. It's thought she would have remained conscious for a short while after sustaining the injury. Indeed, giving her the time to take hold of this piece of evidence clearly indicates her killer. I have a big objection to that. How did she get that away from the killer? She was already stabbed and on the ground bleeding to death, with a hole in her lung. The point is, being a medical research assistant, Membami-san was compelled to act when faced with the wounded victim. Instinctively, she pulled the blade out in an attempt to save Miss Brett's life. Did you hear that, Your Excellency? It would seem this is the best we can expect from this young yokel. Indeed. Is it just me, or does it suddenly feel much colder in here? Your Excellency, if I may. Speak, witness. I would like another opportunity to testify, in respect to the slipshod assertion just put forward by the yokel defense counsel, I mean. Slipshod? An excellent idea, Inspector. A young yokel hopeful has a modicum of knowledge when it comes to the law, it seems. But in matters of medicine, he appears to possess not one iota of common sense.
So what they're alluding to is pulling the knife out would make her bleed out and faster and die faster. But at the time, she probably had no way of knowing that the blade had pierced her lung. Very well, Inspector, I will permit your request. You will testify again before the court on the subject of the defense counsel's assertion. Yes, sir. I will do so flawlessly. Except it's not going to be flawless, because otherwise there wouldn't be... this case would be impossible. Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget the young student did have a motive for killing the victim. The man in the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor. I was gonna say, is this gonna go on for much longer? Because that's 6 things that I had to press already. Is what you just said true, Inspector? Could pulling a knife from a wound really cause the wound to bleed heavily? Yes. In fact, so this is not something that would be like really common knowledge, but if in fact it's actually taught in like first response and basic first aid and medical stuff that if you have like that if there's a foreign object, you're supposed to treat the wound without removing the object, basically. And a foreign object would be a knife. Yes, think of the weapon itself as a stopper in the wound that prevents excessive blood loss. This is exactly why. Until a doctor says you provide proper treatment, that stopper shouldn't be removed. Oh, I see. This is why yokels should stay on the farm. Even a quack from some obscure mountain village would have such basic knowledge. I mean, not really. You'd see a lot more common than you would think, at least in cinema, where they remove we pulled out the arrow to to wrap the wound so that the wound wouldn't get infected or something like that. Which, makes sense, but at the same time, you're really not supposed to remove the arrow in the arm. Anyone who's ever given someone a little poke with a knife and pulled it out again knows it. Oh, well, I've never stabbed anyone, you see, or pulled a blade out of a wound, so... Of course you haven't. I didn't bring you up to behave like a bandit. Father, is it true what they're telling me? Yes, it's basically remedial knowledge from medics. Ray would have been well aware of it. If she were to claim ignorance of such fundamentals, that would prove fatal in many ways. But then, why would Ray have done it? I'm still wondering why this is in my evidence, and why can't I look at this pen? I liked being able to examine everything in the last game. Could she have pulled out that knife in full knowledge that it would be fatal for Miss Brett? I don't know. Ray never once mentioned anything about the knife to me. It seems almost impossible to believe, but could my friend actually have... Susato. Yes? Pull yourself together. We mustn't lose sight of why we're here. Ah! Counsel, it's time for your cross-examination. Oh, yes, Your Excellency. However, I must warn you that if your cross-examination fails to identify any issue with the established facts, we'll be moving to my adjudication immediately afterwards, which means save the game, bucko. I understand. Believing in your clients and fighting for their cause until the bitter end. I know it would be hard, but
I had no idea it would be this hard. We still haven't even seen the knife in question.
Hold it!
See, doing it without thinking could be a problem. Does that mean that if you used due care and attention, it would be alright? I wouldn't have thought this needed spelling out, really, but the blade is like a stopper in the wound. Remove it and a serious hemorrhage will occur. In other words, a medic would need to be present before any attempt was made to withdraw the blade. Doing it without thinking would be madness. You just can't do it. Oh, well, thank you for such a thorough explanation. You see, Counsel, when you enter without thinking, the result is a bloodbath. Hank. Back to the witness testimony, please.
Hold it!
In that case, there's an obvious explanation here. Don't. So, which is clearly the defendant Raymond Bamison does not possess an ounce of sense. What do you think about that, Professor Mikotova? I'm not so sure you should be labeling your best friend as lacking in common sense. I mean, so here's my thing. At a time of panic, a lot of times instinct would take over. If someone gets stabbed in front of you, your first instinct is, oh, remove the instinct that most people would probably have is remove the knife and try to treat the wound, right? That's just my thoughts on it. That's just the that's even with being me having actually been certified in first aid, and like I basically was all but a certified first responder because I took a class several years ago where I was supposed to be basically a certified EMT. However, it turned out that the class wasn't accredited, so that ended up not only the class wasn't accredited, so not only did the school have to then pull not teach the class in the future, they also had to not they also weren't able to certify us, or my class is the only class that actually took that course. And as a matter of fact, I still even have the book from that course because they let us keep it because end of the year they were like, yeah, we couldn't actually get accreditation from, I believe it was Red Cross, because I'm in the US, where to actually, certify, I guess because it was a high school class at the time when I took it, even though it was reserved for seniors, like only seniors could take it. I guess they didn't want people who were, I guess they didn't want to run the risk of, oh, you skipped a grade when you were in elementary school because you were really smart and now you're like 16 and in your senior year, or you took summer courses to graduate faster, so you're
16 and in your 16 and technically a senior, and so you can't get accredited because you can't get certified. So even though you're taking this class, you can't get certified because you're under 18. That was one of the rewrites of the class, or one of the legal things of the classes. You had to be a senior who was turning 18 before basically before the conclusion of the course. But I guess there was too much, like, well, basically that's what should have been the requirement. I mean, I think the actual requirement was just you were a senior. Anyway, getting back to the game.
Well, I thought it would be better than labeling her as a murderer. I'm trying to figure out... I don't know young people today. If that's friendship, I don't understand it. Careful, Counsel. A lack of common sense can be a very dangerous thing. Oh dear, that recoiled on me rather badly. I'm trying to figure out... Is this another fountain pen, by the way? It's some kind of like top hat look. It looks kind of like it, but maybe it's like a top hat thing for her swan. That's life, I'm afraid. Listen, everyone must learn. Hopefully you can see now that this is really basic medical knowledge. Being involved in medical research, member Ami-san would certainly have been aware of it. No good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Extreme meiosis. Pupil constriction was observed in both eyes.
Hold it!
But the defendant had suddenly encountered somebody he knew lying on the ground, bleeding to death. That sight could have shocked her delicate sensibilities, causing her to remove the blade inadvertently. I really don't think inadvertent actions can explain this. The woman is a medical research assistant. I can't imagine she would have behaved so irrationally. Oh, but irrational behavior is a woman's prerogative, isn't it? Oh dear, you have a lot to learn about women. Only a small-minded man can have such bigoted views. Oh dear, perhaps I'm letting my male persona take a hold of it a little too much. Well, have I managed to convey the basics now? That should cover the medical side of the argument. So I forget he had a motive for killing him as well.
Hold it!
Whatever the motive, it just isn't in Bami-san's nature to do something so awful. She had both motive and opportunity. That's very hard to argue against. But you don't know the defendant.
Objection!
And you, Counsel, do not appear to know the law. Yes, evidence is the only way to convince the court of your argument, not feelings. With this fledgling to defend her, I would almost say I pity the accused. So do I. Inspector, you will reiterate your point about the defendant's motive, please. Ah, yes. Miss Brett was in many ways a sworn enemy of Bami-san. I want to switch over to people. I can't switch over to people for some reason.
Hold
It's all press again. Well, yes, that's true. Dr. Wilson recognized Mbami-san's talent and offered her the position of assistant despite her being a woman. She was extremely grateful to him. Yes, the Englishman appears to have been a very broad-minded individual. Dr. Wilson had no time for outdated traditions. He met with opposition, of course, but he believed firmly in Mbami-san's abilities. Clearly, the defendant was in the man's debt, which only serves to prove my point. This is hopeless. I can't find a single crack in this testimony anywhere. If Ray knew that withdrawing the knife from the wound would threaten Miss Red's life further, I just can't think of any way to explain why she did it. Mrs. Houghton, it's at times like this when it's especially important to remember the fundamentals. The fundamentals? Evidence is what counts in the court against it. Of course! But I've been through the court record dozens of times already. I mean, it hasn't been dozens, that's for sure. So, according to this, pupil constriction. I think that may be the thing? The reason? Because the pupil constriction would be evidence of a different cause of death, potentially, right? And I have to present evidence here. There's no, like, ooh, look at this character's profile. I think perhaps you're forgetting something, though. You didn't take the evidence at face value. You can and must examine it in greater detail, too. Ah, I realize this is your first time playing the role of lawyer in the courtroom. So if you're reminding of the rudiments, you can only ask. I'll do my very best to help. Examining the evidence in the court record? It's an idea, certainly. What should I do? I don't know what to do. Come to think of it, Kazuma-sama and Naruto-sama are always turning evidence over and over in names. Yes, I need to examine things in greater detail with spacebar. Oh, I can finally examine this. If you take off the pin's lid... Something's obviously out of the ordinary right here, does it? But if we click the pin... Some sort of emblem here, look! But isn't a Yumi University one? It's belongs to some other organization, I suppose, a business of some kind. But it seems to whether the pin doesn't in fact belong... The pin doesn't in fact belong to Ray. Ooh, details of the pin have been updated in the courtroom. Although, honestly, that would not go anywhere in a court of law. Because pens are so... These days, pens are so common. Now let's unscrew the barrel, shall we? Whoa! Poison? This must be the little reservoir that holds the ink. Yes, you fill it by drawing ink from a bottle through the nub. Is something wrong, Father? Just that there doesn't actually appear to be any ink in there, that's all. Oh yes, you're right. It's pretty much empty. Well, it could be on the verge of running out, I suppose. An emblem of some description, a very small amount of ink in the reservoir. And I guess we can examine the Arium, even though it's not going to do anything for us, right? Probably not. The Arium was very clearly engraved here. And the fact that Miss Brett was clinging to this pin in her dying moments it's a very clear message. To identify her killer, you mean? I don't think there can be any doubt that this is a key piece of evidence in this case. Okay, well, the good news is I can finally examine. So that's the pin. Ah, by the look in your eyes, I see it's coming back to you. Go through the court record again and have a thorough look at everything. You may just find a clue. Yes, I'll do it straight away. No reason, no good reason. I'm gonna drop a save here and try presenting the post-mortem report. I probably shouldn't be saving every time I present, but you all saw how weird this gets later on. Extreme meiosis. I don't... My pupil constriction was absurd in both eyes.
Objection!
Okay, that was wrong. We're just gonna reload. There's no good reason why the... Did I present the pen then? Murdered 9 months ago. So defendant's highly respected mentor. I had to present evidence here. Did I present the pen? I'm gonna try. I don't.
Objection!
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I didn't think that was. I didn't think that was correct. You can tell when it's wrong because the music doesn't cut out. This is actually hard because I don't know what to present or where. Like it makes it seem like they want you to present here so that you can see, like, hey, why were her pupils constricted? Try to present. It might actually just be right here. Cause cause of death was bleeding from the lung being punctured, not from her pulling the blade out. It's 5% this. Oh.
Objection!
Alright, it's not this one. Usually this stuff is very obvious, so it's really weird that it's not obvious in this case. I can't present, like, profiles, so... Oh, I can examine this now. Cautious England returnees tell all. Is this under the interview with Yun Saseki-san, father? It looks as though it was quite an exchange. Yes, he became a little over-animated when he was talking about his time being the photographer managed to capture the moment his hand karate chopped me on the neck. I do hope you weren't hurt. Alright, let's turn this over. What else is here? This is the newspaper from Saseki-san. This is an important article on the back page as well. It's exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. His medical lab. Research lab. Father, isn't that your lab? What the? Let me see that. The poison's been stolen? It's this morning's paper that Saseki-san gave us. Are you saying you didn't know? As embarrassing as that is for the head of the laboratory, I didn't. I've not heard of any such thing. What on earth could the important have gleaned this information? Come to think of it, there was no article mentioning this story in our paper this morning, was there? It's a highly toxic poison we've been working on in the strictest confidence. I put Ray in charge of the project. Ray? She was managing it? What's written on here is true. She tried to hide the theft from me. Moreover, the details were leaked somewhere. I don't believe it. You need to read this article very carefully. So do I present the newspaper here now? Let me save again, hold on. Oh, is that a different newspaper, or did it just move? Yeah, it just shows the other side of the newspaper now. Poison article.
Objection!
There we go. I didn't realize I could examine the newspaper because I tried examining the newspaper before and it wouldn't let me, but little did I know we had to cycle through this particular set of dialogue to get that, hey, by the way, player, you can examine stuff even though you were able to do that before. That's dumb. No, there is one possibility. One very good reason why the defendant might have decided to withdraw the blade from the victim's wound. What? The Yuka not only has a poor grasp of the law, but is also a poor loser. Tell us then, what possibility do you think you've identified? It's here, in this newspaper article. An article about a deadly poison having been stolen from a laboratory at Imperial Unit. The victim perished from a stab wound. Poison has no relevance in this case. But, Prosecutor Alchi, you will let the defense speak. But a newspaper article, the court cannot rely on the kind of hearsay those written publications carry. Counsel for the defense, I'm going to need some tangible basis for your claim. You will indicate to the court precisely which part of the newspaper article affirms your assertion. Your Excellency. Yes, of course. Thank you. Ray would never have done something to further endanger a Spirit's life without just cause. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife from the victim's body is explained in the article where it says, poison stolen from laboratory? The poison was apparently stolen from a medical research laboratory in Yume University. Yes, it would seem so. Calling the department's security practices into question. The lab that Giselle worked at. Also, why is Ray in charge of a deadly poison at 16 years old? That's lethal in tiny doses. And as a matter of fact, why is it this? It's probably the same fucking poison as before, right? The very department of the professor standing so nonchalantly opposite me, I believe. Ugh. So, Ryotaro? Oh, yes, Father. Is there some reason you felt it necessary to highlight the theft occurred in my department? How can I explain it? It was the first detail I cast my eye over, I suppose. I suggest you read the article again carefully. I'm so sorry. Oh dear, Father's fuming. The reason why the defendant... where it says... deadly in tiny quantities? Yes. Okay, we didn't actually get penalized for it. The article reveals the following property about the poison in question. When the toxin enters the body on a knife laced with the poison, it rapidly absorbs and causes death in minutes. Oh, are you suggesting? If the knife used to attack Miss Brett was laced with this very poison, it would explain why the defendant, Mimbami-san, would have withdrawn the blade as soon as possible. Yes, the truth is... it was an attempt to stop the poison from entering the victim's body. What? Objection! This is complete and utter nonsense. Not at all. The defendant withdrew the knife blade from the victim's body not to accelerate the woman's demise, but to save her life, and the prosecution cannot deny the possibility. Have you not read the post-mortem report? The cause of death was hemorrhage. The word poison appears nowhere in the document. Didn't you rework a case like this 9 months ago, however, Prosecutor Ouchie? Well, that's because by acting quickly to remove the blade, the defendant prevented the poison from taking hold. Objection! Oh, please, this is clearly desperation. Release those last breaking of wind. Poison has nothing to do whatsoever with this case, as I believe the defense is well aware. We have no proof that the information in this wretched newspaper article is reliable in any way. In that situation, what the student should have done is wait for medical assistance to arrive. But instead, you claim she suspected poisoning and took the potentially lethal decision to remove the blade. She must have had a strong reason for her suspicions then, but the argument makes no sense. Exactly. Well put, Inspector. On what grounds did she do it, Miracle? Why did Ray suspect the stolen poison was involved? It was in the fountain pen, right? If you want grounds, I'll give you your grounds. What? You can't possibly... Your expression, counsel, it would appear that those are not empty words. But naturally, you will as you stand in this courtroom as a lawyer, you must be aware that words alone, empty or not, are of no value in our modern justice system. The court demands evidence. Yes, Your Excellency. I'm well aware of that. I've seen it many times, from my place at his side in the Old Bailey. In that case, counsel, you will present proof to the court now. What evidence demonstrates a clear link between this case and the poison in the newspaper? The fountain pen.
Take that!
How exactly would you explain this piece of evidence's connection to the newspaper article? In truth, I'm an idiot. Alright, well. I already know what's happening. The article had the details of Dodson. Have we seen similar details? Just nowhere come to mind. Oh, it's the autopsy. I'm sorry, the post-mortem report. Okay. Yes, because of the eye thing, right? The eye. Was it eye shrinkage? Or eye. Hold on. The meiosis. Pupil constriction. Pupil constriction. That's what it is.
Take that!
I would ask the court to refer to the notes section of the post-mortem report, which reads, extreme meiosis, pupil constriction, was observed in the victim. Clearly, being a yokel with no knowledge of forensic science, I have no idea, so please do tell me. Presumably, the fact that this condition of the victim was noted in the post-mortem report means it's an unusual symptom of death? Well, under normal circumstances, the pupils dilate when someone dies. If there was an extreme constriction instead, that's most certainly unusual, yes. What are you doing, you yokel detective? In the newspaper article, there's the following information about the stolen poison. Onset of the symptoms occurs in minutes, ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. What? If the defendant, upon seeing the victim stabbed in the back, happened to notice that the pupils of Mr. Bright's eyes had constricted severely. Yes, as a medical research assistant, she would have suspected poison immediately, without a doubt. Prosecutor Outie, I think you'll agree, this is very compelling evidence. You yokel student and yokel professor! I believe the defense has absolutely demonstrated a credible reason for the defendant's actions. No. Eugene Mikotoba? Yes, Your Excellency. I believe you are best placed to confirm or deny the veracity of the defense counsel's argument. You will tell the court the truth about the details and report it in this newspaper, please. It pains me to have to admit it, but I'm afraid I don't know. You don't know? The toxin was kept under lock and key in my laboratory, certainly, but I was unaware of any theft. Do you mean to tell the court that the reports of this theft were unfounded? No, Your Excellency. Without returning to the laboratory to investigate myself, I couldn't say. Listen to the bumbling academic. Unaware of the theft of the secret state research from his workplace until he reads of it in the newspaper. I take full responsibility for the incompetence of my supervision. Father! It's a pitiful situation for a university professor. You can have more control over your students, sorry for yawning, rather than allowing them off on killing sprees. That's totally unfounded. Hold it! Hold it! Hold it! None of This is Professor Mikotoba's fault. It's all my fault. Ray. Bombus, you stand accused here. Outbursts like this will not be tolerated. But it was me. I was the one who noticed that the poison we were developing had been stolen that day. What? So you knew. I'd been placed in charge of overseeing the project. It was the day that the professor and Soseki-san were interviewed together. Excuse me for yawning again, for the newspaper. That's when I noticed some of the poison was missing. Just a tiny amount it was. Why didn't you let me know immediately? I was scared. The whole project was supposed to be confidential, but some of the shots and some have been taken. So I decided I'd try to get back before anyone else found out. Because I had a very good idea who the thief was. The thief? You don't mean... Yes, of course. It was that dainty English woman. Miss Giselle Brett? That's why I decided to join the little group of people going to the seaside. Pardon me for yawning again, jeez. Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well, whatever do you... Well, whatever do you mean? Well, whatever do you mean? And then, she suddenly got to her feet, before falling to her knees in front of me and then collapsing on the floor. That's when I saw the knife in her back. I couldn't understand what had just happened. But then a moment later, I was seized with fear. The pupils of her eyes had shrunk to tiny pinpoints. I don't believe it. In other words, you realized that the victim was suffering the effects of the stolen poison. My mind started racing. I hadn't seen anything past Miss Brett's lips whilst I'd been with her. It was like only one possible wave of the poison to have entered her body. On the blade... But only one possible wave of the poison to enter her body. On the blade of the knife in her back. And that train of thought was what spurred you to draw the blade. Pardon me, I yawned again. Yes, the amount that had entered her bloodstream was small enough so you might still have a chance. That's what I hoped. That's what I hoped. Really, I'm so sorry for sitting silent all this time. Your attempt to hide the truth of what happened is not something that can be overlooked. However, I have duly noted the courage with which you confessed in the end. Thank you, Your Excellency. It's barely perceptible, but I do think the balance has shifted a little here in this courtroom.
Objection!
Your Excellency, do not be deceived. The victim just collapsed before your eyes, you say? Well, Bobby-san, if that is the case, perhaps you could explain how Miss Brett came to be stabbed. Well, your ignorance because the simple truth is that you stabbed the victim motivated by revenge.
Objection!
But you have no conclusive evidence to prove that assertion, do you? We haven't seen the knife yet, Suzato. Don't say anything. Don't say that yet. Oh, I have evidence, and it is very much conclusive. What's the prosecution counsel up to? It was brief, but he hesitated for a moment there. I was sure of it. You will produce the aforementioned evidence at once, Professor. Prosecutor Aoshi. Perhaps some praises due, young Yoko student. What? I had imagined there would be no need to submit this for me to submit this evidence. But you brought this on yourself. What the? What the? Get a more damning shot at this. The cruelty in the air of the beast is almost palpable. This evidence, more than any other, reveals the true extent of the accused's murderous nature. It shows the precise moment that Bami's son punched her dagger into the victim's back. How did you... Who took this photo? What? Need I remind you... Like, that's the scene. No, that's not true. No. I don't believe it. Ah! Order. Counsel for the defense. It was you who was responsible for that shrill scream that just pierced my courtroom. Perhaps his voice is yet to break. These yokels are slow of mind and slow to mature. So you who's slow to mature? Careful now. Susato is starting to show her face here. Someone said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and here we have ample proof. The court will accept this extremely cogent photographic print as evidence. I can't believe he had a photograph like this up his sleeve the entire time. And yet he doesn't have the knife in question? Murder weapon is the fountain pen. And she didn't stab him with the... So she didn't stab him, her, obviously, rather. Okay, so, but rather, Ray did not stab the victim, obviously. I think the victim may have stabbed herself with the pen. Such a stark image, I'm genuinely lost for words, but we'll see. Wait a minute, I don't understand. How did you... I mean, who took that photograph? Thank you! Ray?
Objection!
Who took that photograph? That's of no importance here. Stop trying to divert attention. No, that's... I mean, that's very important. Whoever it was, they're the same person that took this newspaper article picture. Right? Oh!
Objection!
That's an absurd thing to say. It's crucially important. Whoever took this photographic print was a witness to Miss Brett's death. The court must be allowed to hear this person's testimony. I will uphold the defense's demand. The prosecution will reveal the identity of the person responsible for taking this photograph at once. Well, I'm afraid I can't do that. Pardon? You see, this printer arrived at the Imperial Police Bureau headquarters by express post yesterday. But there was nothing to indicate the sender's name or address. The provenance of the print is unknown. Then it can't be accepted as evidence, then. Goodness. Are we to understand, then, counsel, that in full knowledge of the fact that this photograph has the murkiest of origins, you nevertheless believe it fit for submission as evidence in the Supreme Court? When you first produced that print before, I noticed that you hesitated for a brief moment, because you knew that it wasn't completely reliable evidence, didn't you? Silence, you vocal and blabbering professor! What matters is the blatant truth that this print so eloquently expresses. But the defendant has already admitted to pulling the blade from the wound. Clearly, this isn't the moment the knife was plunged into the victim's back, but the moment it was withdrawn. Don't waste this court's time with your ramblings. Indeed, without knowledge of who produced this print, we had no means of verifying the claim. There actually is one way to prove it. And the scene captures is without doubt the most compelling evidence presented to the court. If the defense is unable to shed any further light on the matter, I believe the conclusion is clear. I mean, I'm just gonna save right here. That's fine. Oh no! Susato, this is the time for you to fight. What you've established so far is true, and there can be no doubt. This photograph shows the moment that Ray withdrew the blade from the victim. Yes, we just need to prove it somehow. Please, you time to rue your defeat on the slow train back to the provinces. And to rue the day you came against Takatsuchi Aoki in a court of law. If I can't determine who took this photograph, then the trial's going to come to an end. There must be a clue somewhere. There must be some way of working out who took it. Well, counsel. Okay, let's examine. Oh, I can't actually examine. Okay, yeah, I can't actually. Okay, I can't get. This is gonna be weird because a lot of times there's a lot of like checks under the hood, but I guess they're just relying on your intuition for this one. Well, counsel. Your Excellency, the burning question of who took that photograph and the truth is who took that photograph, and the truth is, I sort of have an answer. This isn't about whether or not I can't come up with the answer now. I simply have to. The identity of the person who took this dramatic photographic print is, I assure you, something the defense can and will reveal. No, you can't possibly, but as you so boldly claim that you can, please do enlighten us. Unfortunately, I'm unable to present a name. How utterly underwhelming. Did you really believe you could? However, I am able to present evidence. The defense has a piece of evidence that reveals important details about the photographer's identity. What? Very well then, counsel. Present your proof to the court. Which piece of evidence do you claim reveals something about the identity of this mysterious photographer? This one, right? Yes.
Take that!
What is that? The newspaper again? Russia's England returnees tell all. It's not the headline that's relevant here, Your Excellency. It's the photograph. If you look closely, you'll notice that there are some white lines on the right-hand side. Ah, yes, indeed. They had already caught my eye as it happens. What of it? A shadow of some kind, presumably, from the branches of a tree or the like. That wouldn't cast a white line, you moron! There are no trees growing inside my laboratory at the university, I can assure you. Now, if you look closely at this photograph... Good gracious! Yes, exactly the same pattern of lines is present on this photograph, too.
Objection!
Well, that tells us nothing. Ha ha, yes, it's a shadow of some kind, definitely, from the branches of a tree. There wouldn't be any trees growing inside a hut at the beach, Council. What's quite remarkable about it is that the two patterns are absolutely identical. How could such an extraordinary similarity have transpired? The curious matching pattern that appears on both photograph prints is a result of a camera defect. Obviously, it must be due to a problem with the camera used to take the photographs. With the photographic device? Yes, we can confidently say that the camera's lens must be scratched. And that scratched lens causes unwanted lines to appear on every print taken with the device. In short, these two photographs are under consideration here were taken with the same camera. There must be hundreds of camera devices here in the capital. It would be utterly impossible to identify the owner of this particular one. I think you're forgetting, Prosecutor Alchi, that one of the photographs featured in a newspaper article. A newspaper? That's right. The author of that article is the mystery witness to this crime. What? Why? Minnie-moo. Minnie-moo. I see why you were called an Roshus England returnee. What are you yelling about? You've already testified. It's Minnie Memo! Oh, I tell you, Minnie Memo! Minnie Memo! Saseki-san, what was that? Did you say Minnie Memo? Ever since I returned to Japan, a reporter from the Shoya News has been hounding me, following my every move. A reporter by the name of Righton Minimemo. Yes, hounding me from dawn till dusk. Ah, now that he mentions it, I secretly spy. Snapshots and scribble stuff. Is it scribble river to see? Oh, it's he Minimemo. Could that same reporter be? I can't remember the left and what's on the right. There I am, stuck in the middle with Right and Minimemo. So you're saying that this picture was taken by Minimemo? Yes, my lord, your excellency, Esquire. Officer, find this newspaper reporter at once and bring him to my courtroom. We will adjourn for a short recess in the meantime. Oh, yes, your excellency. As you say, your excellency. And one more thing. I want this knife, the murder weapon, examined for traces of poison. Hey, can I get that added to the court record? You will solicit the assistance of the Imperial University's medical department for the task. Understood? Me. Minnie-moo. To be continued. Oh, that's the end of the YouTube video then. I'm gonna end stream soon. Pretty, it's been 2 hours. We'll go, I guess, till the end of the case for stream. I kind of hate to do so, but I'm gonna end the YouTube video at least. Alright, so see you in the next one, YouTube. Later.